Good evening, it's Gary Sly and the Legacy of Handmade Objects. It's Monday evening, November the 24th. The sun is beginning to set just a little bit and we're getting close to darkness here, and I've been kind of moving around through the day accomplishing a few tasks, and want to stop for a minute now and reflect a little bit on what's going on here, and talk a little bit about a couple finishes that I have and my works in progress. I've noticed over the last week or so, it's been kind of a strange experience for me. I don't have one big project going on. At the end of this video, you'll see a wedding sampler that I've been working on over a little bit of a period of time. The wedding is not till February, but I wanted to get it done and get it to the happy couple soon. So we've already delivered the framed wedding sampler to the couple, but at the end of the video, you'll see a picture of that. That was a big piece that I was working on called To Have and To Hold from Monticello Stitches. That's the basic design, and I added in the dates and the name of the bride and groom. I would say when you pick up patterns like this, look to see if they already have alphabets and numbers with them, and if they don't, you may want to find one of those when you're out shopping too, so you don't have to make a couple trips. So I finished that big project, and then I kind of wasn't sure what was next. Got a few little odds and ends here, nothing terribly pressing, and almost experienced a kind of a moment of panic there. And maybe some of you can understand how that feels when you got time, when you're going to be sitting down and working and you're just not sure what you're going to be working on. So I've landed on several different projects that I'm playing around with, and nothing is necessarily dominating my time. But I've found that I have about 5 works in progress right now. So I'll kind of look at those with you just a little bit. If you've watched my videos at all over the last couple years, you know about my huge quilt project. Well, I am nearing the end of that. I finished all the quilting over the weekend of all 54 squares. I did 50 states and counted cross stitch using Jan Lynn kits that I purchased back in the 80s, and did all the piecing and quilting by hand, and now I'm working on the edging. And I'll just turn the camera around very briefly just so you can kind of see that. You can see that I'm stitching a red edge there, and up on that part there you can kind of see where my stitches are. Right here is where I'm working. I'll let you see a picture of that at the end of the video as well. And of course, as that project nears completion, I'll let you see what's happening. Because that quilt is so huge, it doesn't travel well, so it's not an easy one to take up and down or take with me when I'm going for places. So mostly I work on the quilt when I'm down in the shop and there's not much going on, or I'm too tired to go down the framing area or do anything else at the end of the day. So that is a work in progress, and it's very nearly the end. I'll finish the edging, and then I'll sew a sleeve to go on the back so that it can be hung. And then I should be pretty well through with that one. I had a legacy project that somebody brought in and asked me to finish. It's an Elsa Williams. It was actually a kit at one point, an Elsa Williams kit called Saturday Skaters, which given kind of the looks of the kit and all that, probably comes from the 80s or maybe early 90s. The person that was working on this did a whole lot of the work, but evidently didn't like backstitch, which is true for many folks. So I've been putting it on a scroll frame so I could work on it. It's a long, tall piece, and I've just been kind of finishing in. So you can see there's some backstitch work there around the skaters. Nothing really very complicated. Not a terribly exciting project. Finishing something that somebody else started is not always that terribly satisfying, but it is nice that I'm able to do that and get that to the person that started it, and allow her to enjoy it and frame it and all those kind of things. I decided I wanted to try a little bit of design work. And so I used one of my apps on my phone called Magic Needle to create a pattern for this historic building here in Leesburg called the Moat Morris House. Just showing you that just to give you an example of what it looks like. I'll post a picture of the Moat Morris House at the end so you can see it. When you use Magic Needle, you get a fairly simplified pattern, several pages worth. And obviously it's the kind of thing that I'm not going to be satisfied with just as it is. I'm going to have to adapt it and work on it. My goal with this one is to create some kits and use them as a fundraiser to help support the work of the historic Moat Morris House. And so I've just begun to do some work. I find when I use computerized generation of patterns, I'm never terribly happy with the colors. This is a house that's pure white, and the colors in the pattern lend themselves to darker colors. So I'm really kind of just playing around with that stitching. I'm not very happy with the result right now, but eventually I'd like to perfect that and do some kits as a fundraiser to help support the work of that historic home here in Leesburg. So that's another project. I started that. I got kind of frustrated with the colors. I haven't been too enthusiastic about picking it up. Both of those are projects that take some concentration, so I find that they're better for me to work on in the morning and in the early evening when I haven't gotten too worn out yet. But that leaves me with those end of the day hours when I'm probably sitting and watching television or listening to music. So I picked up a needlepoint project. This is one that I've been pretty excited about, and I did mention it a while back. I managed to get a hold of this book by Beth Russell, which is William Morris Needlepoint Patterns. Beth Russell you've probably heard of if you're a needlepointer at all, because she's done some wonderful recreation of Victorian stuff, and I particularly like the renderings that she's done of William Morris pieces. And the project that I'm excited about is this one, and it's a panorama of four fruits. The one that I started on is the lemon there, which is down on the bottom row. There's an orange, there's a pomegranate, and there's a peach. And so I've just begun the work on this. Now, I find needlepoint quite soothing and quite easy. The counting part is not that complex. So I'm just kind of working my way through this. And then of course the background will be in an off-white, and that'll be very soothing and calming and something I can do just about anywhere. Sometimes I take needlepoint with me if I know I'm going to be somewhere where I'm not real sure about whether the light is good. Counting little X's and things like that in poor light is very difficult. So kind of playing around with that. So I pick these projects up at different points in the day, kind of depending on the mood I'm in. Rather than having one thing that I'm just kind of focused on and really kind of putting all my energies into, like I did with the wedding sampler to get it done in pretty fast time. These others, none of which have a specific goal in mind except the winter scene, which I'm going to do for someone, but which I didn't promise a deadline for. The others are just kind of non-specific. It's also led me to pull back out a project that you might have seen in the past, Majestic Lace that Arlene Cohen designed for Works by ABC. This is quite complex, and it's pretty difficult because it's on the dark purple fabric. You can see I'm using Q-snaps, which I rarely do, but for this piece I pretty much had to in order to keep track of the designs and try to make sure the count was correct over two using this nice Weeks linen that I have. I haven't really started back into Majestic Lace yet, but I pulled it out and put it next to my chair because I think once I get a couple of these other projects in hand, that will be something that I want to get around to. I certainly want to finish it. I laid it aside, had a couple of other major projects going on, And in the meantime, it's kind of gone by the wayside. The other problem with it is I did miscount a couple places, which has led me to kind of have to adjust as I go along in order for it to look okay. Nobody peering at it from above will ever know the difference, but I will know that. And so I'm trying to minimize any further miscounts on that. I underestimated how difficult that dark purple would be in the linen fabric in order to keep count of. I do find with small count pieces, I get into kind of a rhythm, and the stitches look similar, and once I've done it a bit, I'm okay, but it's not the kind of project I find that I can pick up and lay down very easily. You know, it's easy to kind of get overwhelmed during this season. Thanksgiving is here in a couple days. Been shopping and thawing the turkey and doing some of the kind of things I need to do to get ready for Thanksgiving. And then you begin to realize that within just a couple of weeks, Christmas is here as well. It would be nice if we could somehow separate out these two really big holidays and give ourselves a little more time in between. And then on top of that, if you are in business, if you do retail in particular, you really have to be prepared with Christmas decorations and ideas for Christmas shopping pretty much before Halloween. I know that people sometimes bemoan that fact, but in retail, people start their shopping pretty early. And also here in Florida, we depend upon the resources of snowbirds a lot, those folks who come down and spend their winters here. And so we're beginning to see quite an influx of that. The migration of the snowbirds has officially begun, and we're trying to get ready for that. So I do find myself pressured sometimes, and this would be a good time for me to have one steady little project that I could just sit and stitch on. But not having that right now, I'm just going to kind of keep on moving. I will do an episode either later in December or after the new year where I talk a little bit about some of my dream projects. I'm always collecting things, and I do have one little drawer upstairs that I put those in, which are those projects that I know I want to get to. And you know, reality gets in the way and you get busy and do other things. So I might not get there anytime soon, but I love that stack. I love looking at that. The other thing that I've been busy doing is studying and doing what I need to do to be certified as a food manager, a food safety manager. Part of the dream of this little shop is to have a little cafe here. And in order to do that, I need to be a manager, and I also need to make sure my kitchen is inspected and certified. I haven't gotten there yet either, but it's all kind of part of the fun. So I've been busy with that, but I believe I passed the exam today, so I'm pretty excited that happened. So that's works in progress, finished stuff. I'll do an episode before the end of the year, probably, where I look at all the finishes that I have for the year and the kind of variety of works that I like to do. I have one ad that's out this season that says, "This is not your granny's cross-stitch shop." Because I like to do so many different things, it's very hard for me to focus on one area here in the shop. So I really do have some fine needlepoint supplies. I have cross-stitch. Pretty much anything that you see me working on, I probably have some elements of it here in the shop, or some experts who are practitioners of that. And that's all kind of part of my eclectic idea of what this shop is about. I hope if you're ever in Central Florida, no matter where you may live normally, you'll come by and give me a visit. I won't even try to sell you something. It'd just be nice to meet folks and get an idea of what's going on in your neck of the woods. Speaking of that, if you have any comments or you want to share information or things that you've got going on, I'd love to hear them. And if it's something that you'd like me to pass on to the viewers, I'm happy to do that as well. So I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Try not to get buried under by the pressures of the season. Keep your head just above the gravy bowl. Make your way through this week, enjoying family and friends. And I'll join you again sometime after Thanksgiving, and we'll talk some more about the legacy of handmade objects. Take care.